few years ago, I was making a bit of a career change, and I was applying for a position within a kind of a wider scheme at a company, and I was applying for this role at the same time as a friend of mine. There were various slots available, so to speak. Now, the interview was on a Wednesday, and after I was catching up with my friend, we both felt that we're going to hear back. We were told that we're going to hear back on the Friday. So the Friday came, Friday went, nothing, didn't hear back. And on Shabbat afternoon, I bumped into this friend of mine, and we're catching up, and he says he heard back from the company, and he was offered a position. Great news, really good for him, really happy. He was in a job that he was having no satisfaction in. It was a really good, good for his career prospects. But obviously, at the time, I was thinking, okay, well, great for him, but what about me? Luckily, I heard back on the Monday, and I was also offered a position within the company. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever applied for a job at the same time as a friend, or let's say a promotion with your office BFF. But as happy as you might be for someone else, you might also be thinking, you'd also like, you'd like it if you got the job over your friend if it came down to it. Now, in this week's Parasha, we're dealing with the Big Day Kohana. We start learning about the Big Day Kohana, the clothes that the Kohen Gadol and the priests would wear in the Mishkan, the Bet Midrash, and the Parasha begins with an interesting phrase, Va'ata Tesaveh, and Aviva Zornberg. Many people comment on this double wording, so to speak, and Aviva Zornberg, she translates it as, and as for you, you shall command, which is a bit wordy, and she actually also comments that in a couple of other places this double wording, so to speak, takes place, and it's all in the context of Moshe being told something regarding Aharon, his brother, who was to be the Kohen Gadol instead of Moshe. Now, people wonder, why was Moshe not the high priest? Why was he not the Kohen Gadol? And there's a midrash that comments on the whole episode of the burning bush, that when Moshe was pleading with God not to be sent as the leader to redeem the Israelites out of Egypt, he was quite excessive in his begging, so to speak. And even though he was ultimately sent as the leader, as a result of his pleading with the Almighty, Aaron was given the priesthood and not Moshe. Now, one of the reasons Moshe didn't want to be the high priest was that he felt it would be offensive, it would be a slight to his older brother to have his younger brother come along and take this position ahead of him, would be kind of a knock to Aharon. But God says, don't worry, not only is Aaron not going to be offended, he's going to be happy that you were given this role, that you were given this position. And so we found that Moshe is also happy when he finds out that Aharon is given the job. Now, this week's parasha is very interesting, because ever since Moshe has appeared on the scene in Parashat Shemot, we've seen a lot of Moshe, heard a lot of Moshe. His name appears the whole time. This week's parasha is the first one where we don't see Moshe's name appear since he was born. Now, there's a couple of reasons given. One of the reasons given is in the Zohar, which explains that when Moshe was pleading with God, defending the Israelites after the episode of the Egel Hazahav, the golden calf, he says, and if you do not listen to me, erase me from your book. Okay, and the Zohar explains that God overlooks his offer to erase him from the whole book, but Moshe is removed from one whole episode in the Torah, from one parasha, and that is the parasha of Va'ata Tesaveh. Okay, now think about it. Moshe, there was a lot of commands, there was a lot of instructions given to Moshe. It should have been a lot of God spoke to Moshe, God commanded, God told Moshe, 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 in every single line, every single commandment. But the fact that his name is missing is actually quite glaring, and it says that the Zohar explains that it's an example of a curse of a sage that is fulfilled, even though it was not, but even when it was conditional. Now, there's another reason given there. There's another reason given that Moshe's name isn't mentioned in this week's parasha, because we're dealing with the whole episode of the Big Day Kohana. It was all going to be about Aharon. Aaron was the person who was going to wear these clothes. He was the person that was going to be serving, doing the whole avodah in the Mishkan. And Moshe felt that his name would be taken out, his name would be removed. It wouldn't be there, so as not to take away at all from Aharon's spotlight. You see, this is a complete reversal from what we saw in Sefer Bereshit. Sefer Bereshit, the whole episode, the whole Sefer is brother against brother, fighting, fraternal strife, Cain and Hevel to Yaakov and Esav to Yosef and the Shivatim. Here we see a complete turnaround from this. We see that Moshe and Aaron, they were operating on the same team. They felt that what was best for each other was best for themselves, was best for the whole team. You see, Achdut is not just about unity, it's about this sense of brotherhood, this sense of kinship that should extend beyond just the familial bond. It should extend to the whole nation. Okay, it's not just about finding what we have in common with each other. It's going down even deeper, even to a more fundamental, unshakable level. It's about seeing ourselves in each other. It's not about viewing our fellow as another. It's about seeing ourselves in them and them in us. Now Haman, he knew what he was doing. He knew how he could attack the Jewish people. He attacked their disunity. See, look at these people. They're scattered, spread out amongst the whole world. Okay, they're not operating as a team. And Esther, she realized the first thing she had to do when it was time to form a defense, to start defending the Jewish people against this threat, go and gather everyone. If we're going to stand a chance, we need to be together. And so that's even how we celebrate it every single year. Every single year we celebrate it together. We celebrate it in the Megillah together, we celebrate it in the Seudah together, we celebrate it by sending gifts of food to each other, by making sure that even the poor are thought of on this day, by sending Matanat Le'Evyonim. Okay, this year is going to be a very different Purim, but we should also understand that we need to constantly work on our Achdut, on our unity, finding ourselves in each other. Yeah, to understand that we're not in competition. That's like Moshe and Aaron said, the best for them, the best for each other was the best for them themselves and the best for the entire nation. Wishing you all a Purim Sameach and Shabbat Shalom.